Hello, Mariner engineers. This is an updated video on how you'll get a photograph into the software for 3D design using an image and making life a little bit easier. Um, this is just an example of what it looks like when we're said and done. You haven't seen this up close yet, and this is also going to be a little bit of instruction on how to make your life a little bit quicker and easier with some line tricks and things. So let's get started here. I'm going to create a new part studio. Make sure I stay organized and right away stay labeling things with what I'm working on. So, and what I always have a habit of doing is working on the top sketch as if I were laying this into a 3D printer and building it from the bottom up. Design like this would ultimately, if we were to set it on a printer platform, would lay down in space like that in the virtual world. So that's just my go-to habit here for doing this kind of work. So I'm going to pick this top plane, then click on sketch. That's when I have this insert image option here. And then you have to understand the concept of this. I actually, in the class, had somebody today trying to move in a document downloaded on a Chromebook into the Onshape cloud. And this has to be dealt with in a working off of a hard disk. So you have to download something to a PC computer and upload it, import it the right way, um, going into the file location where you save this. So in this case, I have this on my personal computer and my desktop. You guys are going to have these things in your downloads, in which case then you can just click on the image after you downloaded it. It's just got to be the right file type. This JFIF file, if I hover over this, or if I go down here, you'll see this file extension is says it's a JPEG when I'm downloading it, and it comes up as this, but that works. PNG files are also okay. JPEGs not. If you see something like a WEB or a certain web files won't work. So again, JPEG and PNG files. When you go into this, I'll just do this. When I'm downloading things and I right click and save image as, you want to look here and see that it's PNG or JPG. If it says something other than that, it might not work. And you'll see it. You go again, import once you've downloaded the image to import it off of the computer into Onshape. You'll see a little preview thumbnail at first. You won't see this until you work with this a little bit. But then after you get whatever you see here again, and this might just be some sort of preview. Actually, let me do this in front of you again so you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll get this little icon. It'll still work when you do this. I'm just going to use this one since it's what I used in the last demonstration. Click here and then click here and here where you see the top plane representation. Just click and stretch that big. That's roughly the size that's going to be comfortable for you guys to work with and make this little project simple. Just finish that sketch, and then when you do it is sketch right on top of that, you click the top plane again. You want to make sure you get this indicator line. You can also always click these to select the plane. So if I click away from this in the white space here and I click the top, it'll select that. Sometimes it's hard to select certain things, and those little tricks go a long way sometimes. So sketch again, it'll gray the image out and it'll make it easier for you to draw. And then my next step is always to click on the top plane up here, or the top view up here on the cube, and it'll take that plane and straighten it out towards you. Now, if I go back to this previous preview here, you'll see that I use straight lines, even though there's certain places where a lot of curves exist. And that's because when you're dealing with the sketch tools, you're looking at all these different options as far as how you can go about tracing something or drawing anything in general. Um, you can go back and modify 90-degree angles with what are called sketch fillets, not fillet, but fillet. And you can click on that and you can go back in here and let's just do this quick and simple. Again, I'm going to do this because it's a little bit easier to see, but it's a little bit easier to work when you're new at this by clicking the top view here. And also I'll note something right now is that when you're dealing with this spatial orientation, sometimes you can get lost. It will be upside down and backwards. If you see the word top and you go to the bottom right corner circle here and click that, it's going to reorient everything back to what you start off with seeing. So some cases you're up and disoriented like this and trying to figure out how to get your spatial orientation back. If you see this word top and you go to the bottom right corner and you can find this circle and click it, it's going to straighten everything back out and get you where you want to be here. So, um, but anyway, back to this sketch fillet tool. You can do a lot with basic modification tools like this. And I'll go in wherever that kind of curvature is in the New York Giants logo here. I got maybe one more down here. And the whole thing is, I'm not going to do this, but I can grab this arrow and I can make that bigger or smaller, and resize it. And I can click as many or as few of those sketch parts as I want to, or 90-degree corners, and it's going to update it. Oftentimes this will happen where you click the green check mark and it goes away and you're not seeing what you were. You double click back here into the sketch and see these blue lines to activate it. The next thing that I want to do is make these bigger curves, and you can see that's what I'm talking about or just said. You can change the size of curves, and this is just one particular logo that requires this kind of a thing. Let's see what this looks like if I match that. So this curve here and that curve there actually do match up, which means this one up here, probably the same thing. Those three are all the same. I'm looking at it, so watch. Just as far as modifications go, if I go to extrude this now, I've got a pretty solid start. So that's just a very quick demonstration about where you begin when you're tracing over something, and that you want to think about the different options that you have. This particular N also has the ability to be made with different types of arcs. If I go back into the sketch, I have sketch 2 lit up here. I'm on the right layer and space here, and I can pull things like this curve with something called a conic arc, and then I can use the same tool while I'm at it to bend any other arcs. And I can start off with, I mean, this is not nearly as accurate as what I just demonstrated, but that's just the other kind of way that you can look at doing something like this. There's nothing wrong with it. There's just a little bit more precision in the first way that I showed you. But depending on what you're trying to achieve, sometimes you don't have perfectly straight lines and you have to pull off things like this. And you're using a combination of different tools to do these kinds of projects. Okay, now back to, we'll take this one step further. I always forget when I'm recording. I can't use the escape key. In a line situation like this, you're drawing lines when you need to stop using any one of these tools. You have to hit the escape key often, and I have to right click and escape to do that. So I was fumbling around because I was thinking about what I want to go back here and show you. All right, now if I double click sketch 2 here and go back to my normal views that you would normally be seeing here, I want to make this sketch 1 background image go away. There's offsets. If you look at this particular design, there's layers or just like a white stripe, and then there's red there, and there's a border, and there's a lot of parallel lines as the offset point here. So if I turn this off and I look up, there's an offset tool for situations just like this. You can click them one at a time. You could also drag and select things. In this case, I need just the end. In some cases, you can't get to everything without selecting things you don't want to select, so you might have to go back in here and add to your selection to get this right. Let's see. And in some cases, it might say something like this, it fails, in which event I'm going to hit undo. Go back into sketch 2. All right, and I'm going to do some of these, or as many as I can, with an offset. Now, you can see, like, all right, for whatever reason, it just decided that it was going to work, even though it wasn't before. I thought it should, but now it is. And you can see how this tool works. Once you get it, you don't even have to be exact where you want it. When you click, it's going to give you the measurement that you want that to be. I'll make that an even 2 millimeters, and just finish that sketch so you can see what happens. It started to mess with my initial extrude here, and that's exactly what I want to show you next here. Is when it comes down to multiple layers of things. If I were to make this into, let's say, a project, I'll take the New York and make it 6 millimeters thick. And what'll happen is if I hit the green check mark here without having any selection going on with that, it's going to make that outside border go away. Now I go back into my initial sketch. This eyeball here controls the visibility of it. You can see it's lighting up in orange if you look to the right there. When I click that, I then can go back and then select other regions of this. If I do this right, so zoom in. Sometimes you do have to zoom in very close and carefully to do something like this, but let's say I just made this 6, I can make this something like 4 now, and I can select that, and click this button, and change this dimension here to 4, hit the check mark, and done. So again, you can see there's certain things that can happen really quickly. Let's see if I can do this super fast for demonstration purposes here. Of course, it's saying this again. What will happen? Maybe if I click this, this. Doesn't want to do this. Cooperate. All right, well, I'm just going to leave it like that because it's going to take me too long to figure out what just happened, but that's okay. Life happens. I'm going to finish that again, go back to this. All right, now I had created a separate extrude here, and what happened is it extruded the, well, zoom out here, click away from everything so you can see this a little bit more clearly. Part 1, it's identifying as this, and it fused these two parts together. Extrude 2, what I didn't want here to happen was the material that I just brought up in space here to add to the end. For coloring purposes, I'm doing this specifically. I hit new, and now I'll have 3 isolated parts here. It just made this consider itself a new material, and so it'll be a new color. And then these things can all be selected independently and recolored independently. And I'm going to go another step further quickly here. My initial colors here are this blue, red, white. Actually, let's go in here even one step further than this. You can simply draw a back plate and hold this stuff together by going onto the top plane again, a sketch, pulling a rectangle around your parts. If you have something along the lines of this, and then just extruding. Your initial extrudes are always going to come up and to you if you flip the direction like this and make this something like a 3 millimeter thick surface, something like that. There we go. So now I have 4 separate parts, and you can see I'm working on actually getting my colors here. I got my blue, I got my white, I got my red, and the idea is you can go in here and you can color like this red right by right clicking and editing the appearance of it and selecting some random red or going into a mixer, or you can be pro about it and getting the New York Giants red and putting in the actual color matches here using hex numbers. So just real quick, this works for almost any major organization. Color match, and what's really neat about this program, it's all online, and it's going to note that when you color the this specific number for red, I right click and copy here, it's going to highlight on your computers. This does this anyway. It's going to highlight this number right here. If you Control V, I had to use a Control V and paste it in there because, again, my right click, some things don't happen right when I'm recording with the software that I use to record. But now I have an exact color match for the New York Giants. That particular red, then I can click on the part that corresponds with the white. You can look for things by either hovering over, by the way, click away if something's selected. You have to just click the white space sometimes. Or you can click on the part that you're dealing with and it's going to light it up here. If you have a long list of things and you're trying to find something, this is going to be an important little trick here. So if I edit the appearance of that and make that just, I'm just going to leave that off white. And then I'm going to go into that last part that I just created and look for this Giants blue, which is this right here. Right click, copy. If I go back to here, I can right click, edit the appearance. And this is what I was talking about. It should highlight it straight away. And again, I can't right click and paste, but I'm going to Control V and hit enter. And I don't have the entirety of this done, but you can see if I turn sketch 1 visibility off, I've got what I'm looking for here. I missed this right click, edit the appearance. I need my red code again. Control C to copy it. Go back over here to Control V and paste it. And there we go. Now we got our color match. And then there's other things that were just tools that were on here now that are in my way. That's no time like the present to learn how to make things disappear and turn them back on while we're on that subject. Sketches, you'll see like dotted lines. I use Sketch 2 a bunch to make 3Ds. You can turn that off. And anything that I don't need, including this even little origin point button, to make it look a little bit more pro. One last fun thing that I like to do at the end of projects when I have something like this that's tied together with plate. Sorry about missing the outside of the Y in white here, but you get the point. You can click these 3D modeling tools. And actually, this is still set up from earlier. Equal distance is what this is going to start at, and this is going to say 5. I made this back plate 3 millimeters thick, so I really can't go any greater than 3 millimeters here. I'm going to do a 2.5 just so you can see it for effect. This edge here, you can see it measured in 2.5 millimeters down and 2.5 millimeters back, equal distance in both directions. You can even change the distances and have 2 separate distances, and you can change the angle then, and not just have 45, but equal distance 2.5. If I just select the entire surface of this, it'll select all of those edges, and boom, done. That just makes it look a little bit more interesting. But there's a lot you can do with simple, basic tracing of images, and I just went through a whole bunch of stuff. That's a lot, but that covers the whole ground of what you're going to do with just from the beginning where you're placing an image in. If you want me to, if you actually made it this far, I'll do one more quick review. If you're going to get this far, you might as well catch one more quick shot at this, because this is where everybody open up a new part studio and wonder where you put your picture in. It's because you have to activate a sketch on a plane before you can drop this down and click insert image and drag in whatever it is you're going to work on. Now, this is going to be next quick video, working with symmetry and pictures. See you soon, guys. Take care.